Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nut podcast number 1941, Secret Saturday Genealogy Tips. Although 1941, that was a good movie. Have you seen the movie 1941? It's a great movie. I enjoyed that movie. In fact, I haven't seen that for a while. I haven't been watching many movies lately. It's my James Bond month, and I am still stuck back on Live and Let Die. I haven't seen that one yet. That's the next one in the sequence, but enough about that. We've got a couple of things for you. We do want to ask you, though, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm in a competition right now, and I've been challenged to get as many subscribers as I can over the next few days. And I have a target in mind, and I need your help to get there. So if you would be so gracious as to scan the QR code up here and subscribe to our YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It would be awesome. And that you can be notified when we put new content up there, which is daily with our podcast, but sometimes we put other stuff up there as well. Like we put a really cool video up there for Zeffie when we celebrated her 5th anniversary for her gotcha date. And we put other things up there as well. So anyway, Secret Saturday. Woo, what's that all about? Oh, lots of secrets. Let's see. Your question today is, what's one family secret you uncovered that changed how you view your family history? Think about that. How did that change your view of family history when you uncovered that little secret? What was the secret? You can share it in the comments if you wish, or you can just state about how it affected the family that way as well. Okay, so let's go over some ways that you can uncover some of these secrets and when you're researching your family history. There's some different ways. Explore aliases and hidden identities. Research ancestors who may have used different names, changed their identities, or had aliases. This often appears in immigration records, military records, or even newspapers, and even court documents, because they may have been arrested for giving false information. And in the newspapers, it may be reported that somebody was arrested because they were known as this, and now they're known as that. And they found, and through investigations, they found out that person A and person B were actually the same person. Military records, people often, back in World War I, World War II, and some of the other military campaigns that went on during that time, over the course of the years and everything else, people would lie about their names. They wanted to hide their identities because they didn't want people to know that, especially like in the Civil War, they didn't want to know if they were Northerners or Southerners and what family connections they had if they were fighting for the opposition. So if you had a Southern family who had a son that was living in the North and he joined up with the Northern forces, he didn't want his family knowing back in the South that he was fighting against his own kin. So they would quite often change their names in that case. And some of those you can find, some of them you cannot. But have a hunt around and see what you can find. Search for divorce and scandal records. Ancestors who went through divorces, separations, or public scandals may have left behind interesting court records that reveal untold family secrets. Now, you may also find, too, on some census reports, you may find a woman there who says that she is a widow. And upon deep diving, you think, oh, well, that's my third great-grandmother, and she's claiming that she's a widow? Well, that doesn't seem right, because my third great-grandfather didn't die till about 20 years later. What's going on here? It could be they had a divorce and that she moved from where they were living as a married couple to a completely different area to restart her life. And she said that she was a widow because it had more of it had a better stigma than being a divorce. Divorce, you were cast aside, you were a bad person. And it could be that she got a divorce because the husband may have been abusive, so she was now hiding from that person. So there's lots of different reasons that when a divorcee moved to a new area that they claimed that they were a widow, or even changed their name, is because they were hiding from their abusive spouse or starting a new life, or for whatever other reason they got divorced and they left the area to avoid any scandal or anything else. And being a widow, people were more sympathetic to that than somebody who had been divorced, because you were a scorned woman if you were divorced in some cases. So there could be some court cases out there that you could go and have a look at that would reveal the untold family secrets. Like maybe he was abusive. Maybe he had an affair and she didn't want to hang around. She just left. She didn't want to deal with it. Who knows? And that's the other reason somebody could change their name too, is because they had an affair with a married man, did not want to be labeled as as the mistress or anything like that, so wanted a fresh start, so they moved. Investigate adoption records. Adoptions was often kept secret in the past generations, and looking for indirect clues in census records, wills, or DNA matches to uncover connections. Now, I will tell you this with DNA matches. I am in several genealogy Facebook groups on DNA, and especially looking at DNA and how records affect people. And the number of people that are in there that have reported that their DNA records show that their father is not their father. They're actually connected to some other family. It may be a family, it may be an in-family adoption. They may have some blood relative, some DNA matched to their father, but not as much as a father should. It could be that they may have been adopted from a close family member. It could have been that, say, in a family with sons and daughters in it, the daughter got pregnant out of wedlock, had the baby, and a brother who was married, they may have adopted their niece or nephew. And the DNA matches may show that there is a slight connection there, because the brother who is the uncle is showing up, that she's got on the family tree as her dad is actually her uncle by birth. Even though they've got documentations and all that. So have a look for those sort of things as well, because you may find that they may have, on census reports, they may have visitors coming and visiting them that might say visitor on the thing, how they connect to the head of the family. They're a visitor. Is there any family connection to them? Is there not a family connection to them? Could it be that the visitor may be the mother of one of the children that are there? Who knows? There's all sorts of things that come up. In wills, when they, in the probate cycle and stuff, it may come to light that all of a sudden they're gifting one of the heirs is some person that the family has no clue who this person is, and it could be either an illegitimate child or a child that was adopted out, a child that was adopted at birth. So there's a whole bunch of stuff out there where you can find that information. Uncover hidden immigration stories. Some ancestors may have entered the country unofficially or through alternate routes. Look for records at less common ports or border crossings. They may have given false identification to come into the country. They may have come into the country under their name, but changed their name after they got here to something completely different. So it shows them coming in, but it never shows what happened to them afterwards. Delve into military service missteps. Research military records for ancestors who deserted, lied about their age, or got in trouble during service. These records often reveal fascinating personal details. There was a lot during World War I, World War II, the Civil War, where young boys who were ages 14, 15, 16, who looked older than what they actually were, signed up for the military and lied about their records. Now, you may find the records and go, oh, but that's not my that's not my third great grandfather or my fourth great grandfather, if that's not my great uncle, because the birth date's wrong. Double check that. It may be your third great grandfather lied about his age. So on his military records, it has his age as one thing, when in actual fact he was a few years younger than that. It could also be too that he got kicked out of the military because they discovered that he had lied about his age. So check the military records. I tell you, military records are amazing. Have some amazing stories in there, and you can see what. Now you may not know this, but some of your relatives may have been awarded medals during their military service, and you may not have known about them. The military records will show these records that these medals that they got served and why. So this gives you another look into the type of person that they are as well. Explore illegitimacy records. Birth records, parish records, or old gossip columns sometimes hit at illegitimacy, which is a sensitive topic in past generations. There's a mystery in my own family where we suspect that my great uncle is not actually he would still be my great uncle. I'm just trying to think, but yeah, it would be. But he may have actually been my grandfather's brother instead of an uncle to my grandfather. And different stories will come up like this through the family, and some of the family may know what the truth is and some may not. And some, if you ask the side that knows about it, they may turn around and say there are some things in this family we don't talk about, which then leaves those that don't know anything free to make up their own, to come to their own conclusions, to look at the, and there's a way that you can, when you're looking into all of this sort of stuff and you're looking into these rumors about somebody being illegitimate in your family, looking back at the birth records, looking at newspaper articles, looking at where they lived at the time, what was their current situation. You could look back through the records to see what times were they living in. Could it be possible that this happened and that happened? Quite likely. So there's always records that can help you uncover things: birth records, parish records, gossip columns, people's journals. Journals reveal a lot. A lot of stuff is revealed through journals. It's actually quite frightening at times. Huh? Some people will leave their most intimate secrets, or the most, they won't pour stuff. They won't tell the family about something that happened, but they will tell their journal. And that just gives you an insight, because nobody in the family may know about something. I've uncovered a couple of secrets, and when I've approached people in the family about it, they've claimed no knowledge of certain things. And others have admitted it, but asked me to keep it quiet because they didn't want it known. So it's very interesting when you come across some little secrets, and then you go to somebody in the family and go, "Hey, did you know about da 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 da?" And they're like, "No." Huh. Can you tell me about this person and who they were married to? And like, oh, yeah, okay. And you get what history they know of that person. And then you go and ask another family member who remembers that person as well, and ask them about it. And they're like, oh, yeah. Why do you want to know? And you say, look, I've come across these records. I just need somebody to verify if they're true or not. Oh, there's some things we just don't talk about in this family. And when somebody tells me that, when I tell them I have a record that states something that I just want verified, they kind of get a little shy or offhanded and just like pull back a little bit. And they're just like, yeah, there's just some things in this family we don't talk about. To me, that's kind of confirmation that it is very likely true. So then I go find somebody else in the family and talk to them and say, hey, I've come across these records. Can you tell me about this? And I've come across these records. I'm trying to verify if it's true or not. But what do you know about this particular person? And then you'll get the chatty person who'll sit there and go, oh, let me tell you a little secret about the family. And they go into this whole explanation, which verifies everything that you have found out so far. I tell you, every family has them. They have the person who knows absolutely nothing. They have the person who knows but won't say anything because it's sworn to secret, even though this person died over 100 years ago or 50 years ago or whatever, because you're talking to the older generation at this point. Then you have the one who wants to unburden. So it's very interesting. And sometimes they will turn around and go, well, I'm not exactly sure if this is true, but this is what I have heard in the family. And you're sitting there and you've got in your hands the record that confirms everything that they are telling you, even though they think it's just rumor. But this was the gossip in the family. And so like, okay, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. You could decode mysterious photos and investigate unidentified family photos for clues about secret relationships, hidden children, or forgotten connections. Focus on clothing, backdrops, and photographers' marks. There is a really cool book on ancestry that is, if you go to our Amazon store under Genealogy, the Genealogy section, there's a really cool book there about photographs and how to decipher when and where photographs were taken. Especially for the time period of when photographs were taken as well. So, and how to decipher what the marks, they talk about the clothing, the backdrops, the photographer's marks, everything like that. I can't even remember what it's called. But it's in our Amazon store in the genealogy section. And it will help you decipher photographs. So it could be that you've got somebody who's visiting a family, you don't know who the family is, but it may come out through your investigation that they were visiting their birth family. I've seen those photographs come out too. Look for your black sheep ancestors. These are the ones that may have had run-ins with the law, from petty thief to larger crimes. Criminal records and prisoner logs often reveal these hidden stories. So can books, history books. can help reveal these stories as well. You've heard me talk about my great-grand uncle who was tried for treason during World War II in Sydney, Australia. I have already found scanned copies of his arrest records. I have found copies of where they was sending information to America to find out if he was an American citizen, sending information to Germany to find out if he was a German citizen, all sorts of stuff around him. And he would claim that he didn't know who his mother was, yet she went and visited him in prison, went across from New Zealand to Australia to go visit him. That was my second great-grandmother. It was one of her children. And, there's so much out there that can, through the research I've done, through my genealogy research I've done on the family, where I'm reading through this article and I'm going, okay, you're saying that, this is the truth. You're saying that, this is the truth. You're saying you were born off the coast of California, this is where you were born. So I'm going through and I'm pulling pieces out of his story that he says that, he's part of this, he's part of that, and claiming that his father, I think he claimed in there his father was German, his father was actually Swedish. So there's all of this. Like, I can go through his story and I can pull that apart and tell you and say, okay, he says this, wrong. It's this. He says this, it's this. So I can pull apart his entire story in this whole chapter of this book, and tell you exactly who he was, where he was born, who his parents are, who his siblings are. I can basically just pull everything that he said apart. But of course, back in that time, I wasn't around. And I didn't know that information at the time, but this is me looking back at time. But it makes very interesting reading. You can find very interesting, and even newspapers, because they will have newspaper reports in there of court cases that took place. So they may even be mentioned in newspapers as well. Search for hidden relationships. We kind of touched on that earlier with DNA matches often reveal previously unknown family connections, such as half siblings, distant cousins. And I see this all the time in a few of the Facebook groups that I belong to that deal with DNA genealogy, genetic genealogy. So they're looking at their DNA and they're going, I've got no relationship to my father. There's no, they're not even showing me, he's done the DNA test, I've done the DNA test, and we don't match. Or they may have a match like a first cousin match, which means he could probably be an uncle. Or they've found matches to other people who they don't even know who they are. And it could be that, and then they find out through their investigation that person may have been a birth parent, or they may be the cousin of a child of the birth parent. And that's how they find out. And some of them find out rather abruptly when they get their DNA results that who they thought were their parents may not even be their parents. It could be one as a parent, the other one is not. And there have been some rough conversations had, going by what's being posted in this Facebook group. There have been some very, very tough conversations. What you have to realize when you're doing DNA research is that you have to be prepared for stuff to come out that you either don't know about, that may shock you. Basically, if you're going to be doing DNA testing, you have to be prepared for it showing things that you may not be prepared for or may not even know about. DNA testing brings some skeletons out of the closet. So be prepared for that. Investigate name changes. They were sometimes made to escape debt, start anew, assimilate into a new culture, check court records and newspaper announcements for clues where they have done a legal name change. That's for legal name changes. If there's one where I had a client, and I found the Social Security application and claims form. This was from the person who had passed, and you scroll down, and at the bottom it has other names that person under that Social Security was known as, and there was an adoption of some sort in the family. Because they started off with this was their birth name, then they got changed to this other name when the wife got married. They took the stepfather's name, and so that was a tough conversation to have with the client. It was a tough conversation to have with the client when we found out that information. Being a genealogist sometimes is tough because you've got to have those tough conversations with people. Explore secret societies. Ancestors involved in groups like Freemasons, Oddfellows, and similar organizations may have left behind membership records or symbolic tombstones. There could be a symbol on their tombstone that shows that they were part of that secret society. There are so many secret societies out there. In fact, I turned the TV on today and I was in Prime and I was getting ready to go up to Netflix to watch the episode that I didn't watch last night because it was getting too late. Of what am I watching at the moment? Designated Survivor. And there was a thing that caught my eye down about something called the Great Lessons or something, I think it was called. I think it was called Great Lessons. But anyway, I thought I'd go and have a look and see what this was because I love to learn and I love watching documentaries on different things. And so I was in there and they have this course in there and it's an app that costs you like $20 a month or something. But they have stuff that you can see for free, like introductions and things like that. And they had one on secret societies. And I thought, oh, that would be really good to watch. And there was several episodes that were listed there. So I watched the trailer for it. And it was just sort of like, this is before I knew it was $20 a month. But I watched the trailer for it and I thought, oh, that would be good. And it goes into a lot of secret societies. A lot, Knights of the Templar, Freemasons, Oddfellows were mentioned in there. Masonics was mentioned in there. What else was there? There were even some satanic ones, and I'm sort of like, yeah, I'm going to avoid those ones because, even just the trailer was enough to scare the crap out of me on those ones. I was like, yeah, I don't want to know about those ones. I want to know about the other ones. So it was just that trailer. It was like a 5-minute long trailer. It was very, very interesting watching that, and it's like, yeah, but not right now. I have too much on my plate right now to go and even watch anything like that. But it's on my watch list to go back later on and go through those courses. So probably maybe sometime next year, once all the sorting and the moving and everything has been done and settled back down, and then I can go and watch some of these historical programs. And the cool part about some of these documentaries is they can give, like the secret societies, they may be able to give you clues on what to look for with your ancestors. They any of the documentaries that they have on historic times will give you a clue as to what life was like for your ancestors, and then you can turn around and use some of that information to maybe something in that documentary might trigger a place for you to go and check out to see if they have information on your ancestor that was alive during that time in that particular town or in some other town, but it may give you clues to go look over there as well. So watching things like the History Channel with some of their documentaries and things, or even like this great plan, great lesson, whatever it was, where they do these lectures on different time periods and things. Maybe going and watching those just might give you some clues to help you get around through over brick walls. And I'm just sort of like really curious about this, but I want time to be able to sit down and watch. And right now, I'm busy sorting through everything, getting ready for our move to New Zealand next year. So that sort of stuff has to go on my back burner for now. I can still spend time doing research, but as far as taking on new stuff to learn when I'm learning a whole bunch about AI right now, I'm concentrating on learning AI because it's services that I can then offer to clients. So that's my plan right now, is to do that. But then I do have this great learning plan, whatever it was. I have that on my list to revisit next year after everything has done and we're all settled in and everything else. So, but yeah, check out some of those documentaries and things. You might just find some clue that might help unlock a door to information on your ancestor. Discover hidden health histories. Medical records or death certificates can uncover health conditions or causes of death that may have been kept quiet in family stories. You may not have known, and then looking at the reason for their death as well. What was the cause of their death? At the time, they may not have known about another illness like cancer, for example. They may not have known that you could have colon cancer, and it may have been listed on the death certificate as something else. And we found that with Brad, with his maternal grandmother, with her cause of death. And I said to a couple of oncologists one time, I said, is it possible that she didn't actually have that particular illness, but she may have had colon cancer because it wasn't around at that time? It wasn't known at that time. And they said, yeah, it is quite possible. So we will definitely look at that at that connection, but we couldn't verify it. But because it was there in the condition that they had put on her death certificate, could quite possibly have been the colorectal cancer. They kept it on their list that that his maternal grandmother was a possibility of a chain of from having cancer, because they want to know about cancer history in your family. When you're diagnosed with cancer, they take you through your whole medical history. They take you through your immediate family's medical history. They want to know, did anybody else in the family have cancer? And that was one that I asked them about because of what she had died from. And they said it was quite possible. So they kept it on the list as being a highly likely. So you never know. You can also, when you're looking at death certificates too, and discovering causes of death, you may see a trend through the family that there may be heart disease in the family because people are dying from different heart conditions. Could there possibly be heart disease of some sort in the family? Maybe. You never know. So it's always interesting to know what your ancestors passed from, because it could come back if you develop an illness later on. Is there a trend of that in your family? Because they will put what the main cause of death was, and then they may put some underlying conditions there as well if there are other underlying conditions. So you never know. Digging into letters, diaries, journals, read between the lines of family letters or journals to uncover secrets or private emotions ancestors may have hidden from public view. Diaries and journals will tell you a lot. Even letters if they're writing to a confidant. Somebody who they consider a confidant, that they tell them something and it doesn't go beyond them. Well, they keep the letters, it goes beyond them. Search for dual lives. Some ancestors live double lives, having second families or maintaining separate identities. Look for unusual patterns in city directories, census records, or land deeds. Yes, this is a fun one, because sometimes they may not even change their name, and you're thinking, well, hang on, I've got this person in this state and county over here that was born around the same time. That was, and like when you put them side by side, it's identical information right across on the census report, completely identical information, but they're living in two different states. Living in two different states and two different counties. So then you go looking for, if they're married, go looking for marriage certificates and seeing who are the parents' names, and just picking away at the information. You may find that they had two separate families in two different states, and they were splitting their time between them. And you're able to, and because of records and stuff, you can figure things out. You never know. Somebody may be listed in the directory twice. I've seen that before too. They're listed in there twice, two different addresses, different wives, in the same city, on opposite sides of town. Are they the same person? Or is it just that you happen to have two people with the same name living in the same town on opposite sides? I tell you, it's interesting. Especially how they used to do the directories where it would have had the husband's name listed, and then in parentheses it would have the wife's name. Or if the husband had passed, it would have the wife's name, and in parentheses it would have wife of. So yes, it can make very interesting things when you start digging into these two separate identities and finding a lot of parallels in there. Maybe they are the same person with two different lives. You never know. Uncover land ownership mysteries, hidden property transfers, unexpected heirs, or disputes over land often tell the story of family secrets and tensions. There could be a family feud going on. Family feuds are another great way of looking. What started the feud? Why do these brothers not talk to each other? Why was these brothers always written up at going at each other's throats and everything else? It could be over a dispute over land. The unexpected heirs, we talked about that earlier. When somebody passes away, they could name a child a heir in there, which the family has no clue who this person is, but it could be their illegitimate child. So all sorts of things are going to come up. Research historic taboo topics like mental illness, incarceration, forbidden marriages that were often kept secret. Records in hospitals, asylums, court documents, parish records may hold the answers to these. And with that, what's one family secret you've uncovered that's changed the view of your family history? So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here